I just don't want to risk. I just want to risk like going to a cloud, then maybe we didn't have the right setting.
Yeah.
At least
And
that
then
way it's here and she can
She can pull it off.
pull it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, hearing none, everybody want to make a motion to.
I sort of missed that. What?
Oh,
what did
Peter,
you-
we were saying, this is the opportunity and time to go ahead and add some time on the agenda, which you had maybe asked to do.
Yeah,
Would you like to
sure.
have the time, and what would you like to have it, how much time you think you need? I think you said about 10 minutes.
Yep, that sounds good. That'd be the fast overview.
Okay, so we're gonna add that on, and you'd like to do that maybe right before Ian's time? Would that be?
I think so. Ian's had hours and hours and hours to present his thing to every committee in town, and you know, we know what his presentation is. So that, yes, that would be good.
Okay. All right, so we'll add that on there. Anybody else have anything else? So we'll add that on for 10 minutes before that.
I'll move to adjust the agenda to add Peter right before Ian for 10 minutes to discuss what he wanted to talk about. And
All right, somebody want to second
I'll
that?
second that.
All right, all those in favor?
I,
Okay.
But,
Now we need to nominate.
did I miss someone? We've just voted you to be the chair, or we
No,
voted on
no,
someone
no.
else?
No, we're just figuring out to approve the agenda. Now we're
I
moving
see.
on to that.
I see. I didn't realize it was a majority vote. Yeah, all right.
Well, and yes,
Well, yeah, so I think, Peter, yeah, the next item is, let's have a discussion, nominate and elect a chair.
exactly.
Yeah, I'll just speak and say, I would like to make a motion that we have Sandy as our chair. I think she has a lot of good experience as being the chair of the select board. You know, whether it's, you want to call it bipartisan or whatever, knows how to, you know, understand both sides, figure out, you know, what the best course is to move forward, understanding, you know, kind of having that mitigating the finding the middle, like, sorry, having a hard time finding the words. Anyways, so I'd like to nominate Sandy as our chair. And then, I don't know, I guess if anybody else wants to have any other discussion or other nominations.
Fine by me.
Peter, do you have any comments? I want to make sure you can hear us.
I don't know if he's. So he's gone.
he hasn't blinked. Oh,
There
there
he
he
is.
is.
Peter, can you hear us all right?
Yes, you have to speak a little loudly because the microphone is way far away from you.
Oh,
But yes, I can hear you.
okay. Do you have any other comments?
No?
All right. I'm happy to do it as best I can.
Oh, yeah, that was gonna be the part, is just, thank you for accepting.
I will
mean,
try, I really will try to do it and be
Do we have to say
as
yay or nay?
collaborative, yeah.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
There
thank
go.
you all. I
No,
really
thank
will
you.
try to do my best.
We know you all. That's
Mhm.
excellent. And then I guess, you know, I don't know if you want to keep leading
Well,
or,
yeah, we have
so-
to come up with a clerk. Go
so
ahead.
coming up with a clerk,
We have to do minutes, and then the minutes, just to say, if someone's going to do that, it's important, they have to be posted within a certain amount of time. And I,
Within 5 days.
yeah, I think it's 5 days, which is the rules for that. And Victoria said it would just have to, the minutes would need to get to her, and then she will post them for us on the website. And then she can maybe also let them know that there's a recording for the meetings for people who may want to hear that. Okay.
I know, and just in talking out loud with everybody, it is, you know, it is a little bit extra step of work.
Yes.
Normally I would say I'll do it, but like in certain, just speak out loud is, I think it's important we have whoever's the clerk is not myself and
Mhm.
can handle all the documents, can handle stuff, and, you know, whoever would like to step up for that, you know, just thank you.
Oh, yay, Pamela. I was kind of hoping you might take that.
I knew that too.
I'll nominate Pam to be the clerk.
So we haven't, all
Second
right,
it.
none of you guys want to jump in on minutes? Nobody wants to do minutes. Pam, thank you. All right, so Peter, we have a nomination for Pamela to be our clerk. And it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank
I know
you.
it's not going to be a fun job. And do you, if you don't have Victoria's, well, you should have
do,
Victoria's
yeah.
email.
Mhm.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Mhm, very good. All right, so moving on, our first agenda item now is to set the ongoing meeting dates and times and look at seeing how we want to set up for other, because we know we've been tasked to ask the chief of police, the planning commission, and the conservation committee members to come. So we know those three specific committees or chief needs to be part of our discussion and how we want to do that. So maybe we should start with the dates we want to meet and times and where first, and then figure out the schedule and how we see this play out over. Because to me, I think we have 8 weeks to do this in. So kind of looking at that 8-week schedule and go from there. So can people do Wednesdays? I mean, and continue doing Wednesdays and meet here? And then if there's that one meeting where the transportation is board, we may have to just go to a different, Victoria says we could use the kitchen area or something like that. And we would just have this, we wouldn't have the big screen for Zoom. So just to say that, okay? But it would just be that one Wednesday. So it'd be 2 Wednesdays like that.
And we could add
There's
in,
a ton of space across the river at the school with Zoom and.
So maybe we could even on those particular dates, meet on that, at that place, okay? And I'll find out and get that out to everybody. And then Pamela, can you like reserve the space for us or how, is that okay?
Absolutely.
I'll confirm what Wednesdays don't work and then that'll be our alternative site. Is everybody okay with that at the law school and you'll let us know where it is and stuff? Okay, great.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting ready to take exams now, so it's gonna be pretty clear.
Pretty
after
cleared
that.
after
Yeah.
that. Okay, very good. Okay.
May.
So Peter, we're saying we're looking to keep meeting every Wednesday
Yeah.
starting at 6:30 here at the town offices or by Zoom. And on the dates that they don't have availability here, we would meet at the law school. Okay, same time, same Wednesdays. Okay, so let's then kind of come up, not kind of, but try to come up with a schedule on how we want to do this and when we're going to have everybody come in. So we kind of have like a set calendar. I don't know how people want to just start it.
well, we probably want to give us a little bit of time to review how the ordinance might be written up and hear from everyone. So I wouldn't think we want to do it before the 3rd week. Just my thoughts. I mean, because we don't have them coming, we don't have anything. So. but
And
I
they
don't
would
wanna
wonder
wait
like,
till the
what are
last
you going to
minute.
write?
Do they want to have any more input? I mean, should you just give them an invite and then ask them, tell them what our meeting dates are and invite them to attend at any time that they would like?
I don't know what
I
the
mean,
select
what's
board
the-
had in mind for what their input and involvement was besides running it by them. I don't know.
Oh, I
No,
thought
that's
that
why
was
you
gonna
should,
be with
that's
that.
why I think if you run it by them, once you've got it established, that's kind of late in the game, I think.
Yeah.
I think you would want them right here, right in the get-go and have them, if they want to come and be a part of it, come and be a part of it and let them
Mhm.
come every meeting and
Mhm.
be a part of it.
All right, so I know they gave me the chairs of everybody, so just make an invite to them that these are the dates we're meeting and where they'll be and include them and we're happy to have them come instead of having like a specific time that they're just gonna be here and we'll just take their input.
Or does it make sense to try to, say, we'll put it out to them like, hey, maybe over the next 2 weeks, like just, maybe one of them may or may not be available this next Wednesday or
Yeah.
so say, hey, guys, we'd like to get you in either the 11th or the 18th and see who says that they are or aren't available.
just to start out.
Well, if we send them a copy of the minutes every meeting, if you send them a copy of the minutes, they would know what's going on all the time. Each of these committees.
But I think that earlier we can get them involved. I think
The
that
better.
there's gonna be, with the various committees,
And their
we
own
wanna make sure
meetings.
that they have time to address and explore areas of concern. Where if we are writing an ordinance and putting stuff on a map, and they're not here until the very end, then there's not gonna be enough time for
Us to like
that conversation.
have compromise and
Yeah.
make changes.
So I
Okay,
think
good
that
point.
Agreed.
the sooner we can get them in,
Yeah.
Okay,
the more time we're gonna have to
yeah,
iron that stuff out versus, trying to cram that in at the end, because I think that's gonna be some of the most difficult and, that's a big part
yeah,
of where we're gonna run into issues.
right.
Yeah.
Peter, I see you have your hand up.
I'd like specifically to call attention to a safety document that I hope that we can get Victoria to give to Chief Loretta. It's from I believe, the National Safety Council, and lists a number of concerns about the safety of these vehicles. And I'd hope that Victoria could be instructed to print that out to give to Chief Loretta so that she could respond to the specific items that are brought up in it.
Okay,
So that would just be an example of sort of, as Ian said, planning ahead and, getting, but in this case, a specific document that was sent to all the select board members back in February, but I don't think has been seen or heard of since.
okay.
Would it be out of order for me to just go ahead and not to take Loretta, Victoria out of it, but I could just get that to Loretta, and if there's anything else that anybody wants to have Chief Loretta comment on or speak to when she comes, that would.
I think that would be great, actually. I
Okay.
mean, I think it's
Yeah,
it's streamlining what we're trying to do, right? I think the more we do that is the better.
Yep.
And I agree. My only thing about, there's some parts in the ordinance that I feel like we're going to get to the part where we figure out a model, but some of the stuff I think we really can't change, right? It's in statute, and to me, there's these sections. And so I kind of feel like if we start to at least write the sections that we think are not going to be controversial, I don't think every section is going to be controversial. It gets us started on the process. And for me, it's like, I can't discuss something if I don't know what it's going to be. Like I can give you input to what I think it should be or not be, but I need to know kind of what this committee is thinking about what that ordinance is going to be, so that I can then give you feedback that has a concern for me in that, okay, you're thinking of doing that. There's my concern. I don't know if you should be on the main roadway there or something like that. So when I was looking at the different models that we're looking at doing and what you sent that Chelsea has done, some of it's pretty, some of it is a template that's pretty stuck to what it is. And that's why I wondered if we also could, in tandem, because of our time constraint, time issues, is there's some sections which I think we can get started on and just do, like definitions, although that could be controversial too, but
not just rather than getting away from the
Yeah.
agenda though.
just try to
So,
figure that out.
Yeah, we're still talking about setting ongoing
Yeah.
meetings and dates and
Yeah.
times, right?
Yes. correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we like kind of,
Well, we definitely have to have those three groups. That was absolutely spelled out
Right.
in our paperwork that we received.
the other two, I kind of had on my list was
Yeah.
town lawyer, town insurance.
Oh, yeah,
Those are gonna come into play. One of the routes we have, if we were able, tentative possible routes, if we were able to, is have a trailhead at Lyman's Tow Garage.
yeah,
And then the question was, do you use Route 14, or we could establish a private trail to Bridge Street? But part of that goes by the town gravel pit, goes across the part of land that was given to the Historical Society down by the river. We would need to get the lawyer and or insurance input, just to make sure, like, they let snowmobiles go across it, but again, I just want to make sure we cross our
I think
Ts,
it's-
dot our Is.
I think it's good to do that. We would probably do it towards the end and then we would send that to them.
Mm.
That's what we've done before.
Okay,
Because I think they have to know what we're saying and then they research it to see about legality. And I actually think the select board, remember, this is only gonna be a draft.
right.
And then the select board's gonna run it by their people.
Yep.
So what I could maybe do is ask Victoria to ask the select board, what do they feel about the process of insurance and attorneys?
Okay,
Okay?
Yep.
That's my only thing, because I think they will absolutely do that before they sign on the bottom line. So
Yep.
I don't know if that should be incorporated in us and we are being proactive about it.
okay.
And I'll ask her that, all right? So we'll ask her that. Is there, so I'll ask her about insurance and,
But
Lawyer, is
another
there
thing you should
anybody
know on
else?
The insurance is that VASA carries insurance.
yeah,
Now,
I see.
I'm not saying that they insure every landowner, but they do carry insurance, and as long as you have VASA approved permission slips on anything that you call a trail,
Right.
then you're part of VASA
Is that
and their
Private
insurance.
land? For private land or public land? For both?
All land, all land.
All land.
And they're,
Right, so I'll ask her about those two things, insurance and attorney. Okay, anybody else can think of anybody else they might want to have input or be part of our set meetings?
I know, like, so Laura and I had already had conversation, and then from what the select board told me to research was, so VASA actually has money, so not only A, does it go towards wardens doing enforcement, but B, it, in this area, because we're in Windsor County, they already have an account set up with Windsor County sheriffs, so like, and probably Dave could speak to this better. When you guys want extra patrols in Stockbridge and Bridgewater, you guys just call Captain Wayon and tell them, hey, we'd like you out at certain
yeah,
points, and they come do those patrols.
right,
And it goes, and it comes out of the VASA
yes,
kitty.
yes.
So I just,
Who's patrolling?
what's that?
Usually the local, the sheriff, the county sheriff, whichever county you're in,
Oh, okay.
they
Sorry.
monitor our trails, and as well as the Fish and Game Department does too. We have a good relationship with the Fish and Game Department, and if there is an issue or something, and they're out there quite a bit.
So it was just,
So
one of-
should we have them and
I
the
would just
chief come?
letting you know that that's another form of our available enforcement, and
Oh, yeah.
it'd be good to show that we had their comment,
Yes,
Okay,
whether if nothing other than email, but
okay,
that way it's shown as it's coming independent from the committee.
So maybe that might be worth having them come when we get South Royalton's law enforcement here. And having law
The same
enforcement.
time.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think we should get people sooner than later.
okay, okay,
Writing an ordinance without getting input is, to me, is a waste of time.
okay.
I think we need information. I mean, some of that stuff, I read the Williamstown,
Yeah,
and a lot of that's pretty generic.
that's what I was saying,
That is you can almost copy and paste it.
right,
Without plagiarism. But I think we need to get people in the room and find out their concerns. So when we write the ordinance, we're addressing those concerns.
okay,
Just my thought on that.
okay. So who do,
It's a
so,
Captain Wayant.
okay, thank you for that. I got AWEYANT,
I can probably give you
oh, yeah,
Claude, CLAUDE. WEYANT,
oh, yeah, he's the captain, right?
Yep.
Yep,
802
uh-huh,
356
uh-huh.
3002.
3002, okay. All right, so shall we go ahead and set our calendar? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Peter has his hand up.
Oh, Peter, I'm sorry, yes.
Well, I just was curious. I realized I may have missed it because the sound's not that good, but of the people who are there, are they all members of the committee?
Yes, there's only
Yeah.
committee members in this room, yes.
Okay, all right, great.
And
Thank you.
yeah, Josh Benson, he's one of our members. He's probably just listening in. He texted me. He was the iPhone earlier, and then he was able to identify himself, and he's just one of our trail masters on our committee. So he's just listening in to just be in the know.
Okay,
Do we need a
so,
motion then?
well, should we set the agenda? I mean, set the calendar for it? first? A
Well,
motion for
Can we
what?
do that without first
Asking
reaching
them?
out
Yeah.
to the various
All right.
interested parties and committees?
You guys don't want them all to come at the same
No.
time, do you?
No.
So
No,
how do you want
no.
to
So-
start?
That's what I would say, I would almost say,
I'll make
hey,
the
who's
invite.
available when? Or,
Okay,
of the next 2 weeks.
all right,
And then someone might say, well, I'm only available the 11th, I may be only available the 18th, and someone
Okay.
might say, well, I'm available either.
all right,
And then just sort and pick.
Yeah, if we can reach out to them,
all right.
tell them that we would appreciate,
I can do that.
I'll split it with you.
as soon
Okay,
as soon
all
as
right.
possible,
Okay.
getting them in here because.
Okay,
So we
like I
basically have
say,
3 committees.
Well, I'll take.
Law
planning and
enforcement,
conservation. You wanna do
conservation,
law
and
enforcement?
planning.
okay,
correct?
I'll do
Yep.
the chief and
So if
Claude.
we reach out and say,
Sorry,
out of the 3 committees, say we've got these 4 dates, could you please choose one?
Okay.
Within the next month, so we've got a month to
Oh.
put stuff
for
together.
the rest of
Okay.
this month,
Or,
maybe.
yeah, or give them up. So
Because I
yeah,
think we have 3 groups, right? We have planning, we have conservation, and we have the law enforcement. So we'll say, which Wednesday do you want of the following 3 Wednesdays left in May? Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah. I was
So
just laughing at
favorite-
myself. You can almost send them like I don't know, I love the Sign Up Genius website because it's like, hey, there's a slot available, boom. You sign up and you take it.
Choose it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Why aren't they a part of the committee?
Yeah,
They are a part of the
they
committee.
are, yep. We
So why
wanna-
aren't they here every week?
Well,
Well, they
I
should,
think
they should be
'cause-
able to hear what's going on. in the
Well, they could have an
conversation.
open invitation, but I think
Yeah.
if we had,
But I
one
think the select board
specific-
made it very clear to us that those people had to be on.
we had to get their comment.
we had to be transparent with them, is my
Yeah.
understanding.
But if you don't make them a part of the committee, they're not going to be fully informed on everything because, I mean, I guess they could read the minutes, but
Well, Peter,
need to
are
be a
you
part
on
of the
are you
conversation.
on the planning commission?
Yes, I am.
So he's a member.
okay, so the planning commission.
We have representation on this board for
Okay.
that. And then I don't think anybody here is on the conservation committee, but
We
All
could-
right.
We could reach out to them and
Yeah.
ask them
Yeah.
if maybe it's possible that one representative from
comes
their
to our
committee
meetings.
could
Okay,
attend or.
all right. So
tune
Pamela,
in.
you want to do that since those are your 2 committees, and then I'll make the same gesture to the chief as well as the captain of Windsor County Sheriff's.
But isn't this considered an open meeting to the public?
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
So really,
But they need to be informed. Not everybody knows probably that this is going on.
right, but anybody in the town can attend this meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think it's an open invitation. But I think having a specific day where we're dealing with the conservation committee and a specific day where we're dealing with law enforcement, otherwise the meetings are gonna get bogged down.
Yes, yeah.
Let's have a meeting with law enforcement. Anybody can attend, but let's focus on law enforcement.
What I'm
And then
saying
let's
is,
focus on.
I'm saying that they're actually a part of the committee. They have membership on the committee.
No, they
They
don't.
don't.
They don't.
And
No,
that isn't what the select board said that day?
No,
just
no.
us.
Okay,
No,
no.
that's fine.
no.
yeah.
That's fine.
And Pamela, you and I can both just make sure that you have an open invitation. It's public. These
Right.
are our meeting dates and where we're gonna be, and
Yeah.
these are our times. And
Okay.
so that way they can come and
Yeah.
have feedback.
That sounds good.
Okay. And I'll always make sure that I save room on the agenda for public comments if somebody comes in or a resident comes in or something like that. Okay? All right.
Just for, I guess, either moving on, do we want to make like a motion for, do we have to make a motion, say, okay, we're gonna meet every Wednesday, 6:30 going
Yes,
forward?
I think we do.
All right, I make a motion, we meet every Wednesday at 6:30 going forward, and we'll, thank you folks for trying to, reaching out to them and coordinating those committees to be here.
All right. So we have a motion made. Is there a second? Oh, you guys
Yeah.
already did it?
Yep.
All those in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Okay, moving on. Peter, you're next on the agenda right before Ian. So would you like to give us an overview?
Okay, well, I guess my overview is that I think we're sort of rushing headlong through this process, and I think there's some really important considerations that we have to look at. I consider the whole thing a land use issue. I mean, I know we're talking about which road here and which road there, but we're only talking about the roads so that they could get to the land. And so it seems to me that the important thing to do is understand the land better and what it has to offer, as opposed to just rushing through things. So I kind of thought I would give you a view of, excuse me while I just get, that's it there, a view of the wildlife corridors in the state. So let's first. We're gonna-
Pamela passed out that information. Thank you. We have it.
No, that's just the summary. That was supposed to come out at the end, but,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, it's all right.
okay.
Blew it.
So,
We won't even look at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're gonna, just put the thing, paper away, turn it over, get out.
All right.
Yeah, done.
All righty.
So we're at 30,000 feet. We're taking a look at the state of Vermont. As many of you know, scientists at UVM and the Agency of Natural Resources and Fish and Wildlife have been concerned about the wildlife in the state. And we have clearly on this map, I hope you can see some of it, the green areas are obviously the places where they're the biggest, densest forests. The yellow, which you can't see so much, are the connectivity blocks, and those connect them all. So this is the view, as I say, from far up. And what we know, obviously, is in addition to the travel in the Green Mountains here, there are many animals that come from the White Mountains and they end up going to the Green Mountains. So that's a very important travel for their genetic structure to get diversity in their gene pool and their seasonal meanderings as well. So that's the kind of the view from way up there. Go in a little better on this to see that the green are the forest blocks, the connectivity blocks are the yellow that are remaining. And this is, this shows from basically from Bradford down to White River is that territory there. And as you can see, it comes through and it's fairly wide and generous up here in Vershire, and then coming down to West Fairleigh and Thetford, and then gets into Sharon and kind of slabs off the side of Guile Mountain and heads west. As we know, the 89 signed crossings are there with all, beware moose and bears and that sort of thing. So that's where they're headed, is down here through Royalton into Barnard with the goal of making it to the Green Mountains. So that's there then. The map that you see currently in front of you, that is of the four towns and how it comes through. And obviously the crucial matter is in here where it hits the bottleneck out at the end, Moore Road, Broad Brook, that whole thing all the way over to Turnpike is crucial area for the animals trying to make this last sort of desperate lunge here to get through Barnard and into the Green Mountains. So that's that, and this has a blow up of what the section is for our town of Royalton. Obviously, it's most critical right through here in this whole part here. So that's the gist of it. And I think we need to consider some much bigger issues than the 20-mile-an-hour limit and all those sorts of things. Those are all piddly little details compared to the land use that we're proposing, which really has potential to have a profound effect on the environment. And that's what we have to pay attention to, in my opinion. Okay.
Yes. The other piece of paper that we have, the bottleneck in our wildlife corridor.
I'm
Is
sorry,
that-
I missed that.
There's another piece of paper we have on the bottleneck and our wildlife corridor. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just what I basically just said. And I made the assumption it's my information, my opinion, but I think that most people who are interested in land use would understand it. Is it double-sided printed, the one you have?
No, it's just on one side.
It's 2 pages though. I couldn't get it all in one, but
Oh, okay.
they
Well,
have both. They
you'll
have
have,
both
yes,
sides.
the intention, I'm sure you can appreciate, was to print it double-sided, so it came out like a little booklet. You opened it up to the map.
Can
We
you,
got it.
I have a question about the seasonal migrations. Are there certain dates? I was looking for dates on that.
No, No,
No.
we're not micromanaging the fine grains to that, or I'm sure you could find it through the living lands people and the Fish and Wildlife and the A&R. Someone will have data on that for sure.
I'm interested in having that be part of our discussion as well. Because I mean, looking at this, I get the point about this being an important bottleneck and critical. It would be really good to know more about, what animals are we talking about, at what times of the year?
Yes.
Where, maybe a little bit more specificity in terms of where they, where the corridor is and how the proposed trails would affect, would there be intersections and all that? I think this is a great starting point, but it would be great, it would be really good to build on this.
Okay.
So that this would be information that is part of our portfolio of everything that's being considered. So are you suggesting that maybe we get somebody from A&R to contribute?
I think that would be very useful.
Somebody who would be good for that?
Huh?
Do you have a contact at A&R or?
Jens Hilke, JENSHILKE. And he's talked to the Royalton Planning Commission before. I think he'd be a good person.
Great, okay, thank you.
So do different people want to take on a task to do that and bring it in on the committee? Like one particular person, like to contact him and
Reach
get
out to
that
him and
info? Yeah,
See if we can get them involved. Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
And or send us information that we could have, that we can support what our decisions are.
HILKE. He's a conservation planning biologist at Fish and Wildlife.
Peter, are you familiar, just from like different Act 250 permitting I've done, which is, the basis of, land use, depending on planning, zoning, commercial interests, whatever, development, whatever it is. I can't remember, there used to be a Richard Kearns that was the biologist that was required to sign off in this area for Act 250 purposes. Does it make sense to have him? I haven't done an Act 250 permit in like 10 years, but
Yeah, I think since there's no location or site of a specific thing, that would be a stretch, but maybe it'd be good. I don't know this gentleman that you're referring to.
and the reason I'm going on that aspect is there has been different discussion that, because Act 250, there's different discussion that's going to get revised in the next couple of years. ATV trails is
Hope
a
so.
topic of interest on that, where they haven't quite figured out, because it's generally more in the commercial aspect. How would you, capture that in Act 250 permitting? Thus far, a lot of it's really just been on the basis of, long linear project best management practices. So it's really only been like when you really, it was up to the, if it was in the commercial interest, like where rail trails are getting, turned into multi-use paths. They look at those as, what your impacts to wetlands are. I'm sure they look at deer wintering areas and all that stuff as well, but anyways, he would be the one that's more involved with those types of projects. I just can't remember, like I said, I haven't done an Act 250 permit in a while to have to get that specific person's feedback, but when we're talking to A&R, it's also NRB, the Natural Resources Board. They're the ones that administer Act 250. And that might be the avenue we want to go on in this land use umbrella.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be really good to get somebody in earlier to see what the possible 250 implications would be.
Reach out to Linda Matson. She's the Natural Resources Board Director for this area.
Got it. Thank you.
So I've got one thing. This is sort of jumping backwards to when we were talking about scheduling and the different groups.
Mhm.
As far as the town of Royalton highway policy, I've done some reading on that. And I'm wondering if we would also want a discussion with it wouldn't be the road crew, but the highway.
The foreman, Demi
The
Bowles.
foreman, just so that there can be some discussion about class 2 roads, class 3 roads, class 4 roads. There are also subclasses within those categories. And just sort of to talk about the design, the maintenance schedules for these different roads. You know, I think that design, construction, and maintenance sort of were considered for a certain amount of traffic.
Yes.
And as we're discussing adding traffic to various sections, having someone that sort of knows that stuff inside and out would be helpful.
I know that VLCT gave us, the select board, a classification of what all the roads were and weights and all of that. So maybe I could try to get that documentation, and then we absolutely can invite Demi to come.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
The one that I was referencing was
Yeah, which one?
the highway policy. And this was the most recent one I could find. It was adopted in 2001 and amended in 2004
For the town of
for the
Royalton?
town of Royalton. There's a
Okay.
lot of really good information about road classifications,
Yeah, that's pretty old.
maintenance schedules. And like I say, this was the most recent one that I could find, and I'm happy
Okay.
to reach out to someone in the town to see if it's been further amended.
Why
or
don't,
just
it would be
wasn't posted.
Victoria, so I would ask Victoria, because I would think that we would have amended that before
I think
2004.
this was because at that time, the roads were all open,
Yeah,
and then there was some people got involved and wanted to shut it down. So they changed and closed all of those
yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
Well, this did address ATV use as a small part, but that wasn't the goal of it. This was just sort of,
Well,
The-
that's
the
what
outline.
predicated all this stuff. That's because of the ATV issue is where this all came about
okay,
at that time.
okay.
Close the roads.
The ATV ordinance that had been previously wide open in Royalton, that was what, 97 to 98 or 96,
Yeah,
98, somewhere in there.
2001 or so.
And the other part of reason why all these towns have to have a town highway policy now also, it ties into emergency financial disaster relief. So like certain towns, if you don't have a town highway policy in place, FEMA actually like does not classify you to as being available to certain funds, because it's how would a town otherwise prove that they're following a plan and maintaining their roads? So when a road got washed out and then FEMA comes in and says, hey, we've got money, show me where your roads are. Oh, your roads were all toilet before. Why should we improve your roads to what they should have been in the first place? So a lot of the town policy actually is something that FEMA looks at when a disaster is that's the word, declared, sorry. Declared and, oh, yeah. About that. Anyways, that's where that also comes from. was the
Yeah, so
political
I'd ask
policy.
Victoria, she would have the most recent one.
Okay.
And maybe that is the only one, but I think we have. I feel like we did. Anyway,
With Brad's comment, does it make sense to grab like a comment from Chris Bump? He'll be the V-Trans, our district manager for V-Trans. I did CC you guys on the email. I had, already before, the conception of the committee, been trying to reach out to him just to get initial comments. So that way we didn't like get all the way long ways down the road and then have V-Trans come back and say, no, those are
Can't do
no
that.
conversation sections, which they may. And it was more just why don't we ask and find out? We've also still been working on getting private landowners in certain areas that maybe we could avoid some of those shared uses of the state highway. But when we were all, as the club was talking about, like, do we become a club? Do we stay a private club if we're just gonna ride private lands? And if we're not gonna ride down roads? Then anyways, to update you guys, we really needed to become a VASA club to get A, the insurance, and then B, VASA has this memorandum of understanding that allows shared use on state highways. Anyways, so V-Trans may be an important one to get comment from.
And we should maybe do,
Is he the same one that spoke at the last select board about the, rep- the,
oh, the bridge?
Yes, thank
No,
you.
no.
Underpass, I
No,
don't,
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
think,
No, that's Bob, I forgot his last name, but, no,
no, it wasn't Chris Brown.
okay,
no, it wasn't Chris Bone.
because it occurred to me after that, that that's happening next spring,
Yes, that's correct.
and that might be a point of concern on 14, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
I hope it's happening.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
Anyway, so then,
So just following up with Peter's land use
yeah,
stuff. I mean, absolutely. These are good things, and it's one of the things that came out of, of the conservation committee meeting was the concerns of habitat migration was the term that Brad Salzman, yeah, was concerned with, particularly up in Pepperell Road, McIntosh Pond Road.
all right, so you, Peter, is anything else for your presentation?
No, I
Okay.
think, I just wanted, as I say, to get kind of out of the mire of the mud and take a look at it from 30,000 feet and think bigger.
Exactly. And then we'll have some follow-up to your presentation. All right, Ian, you want to give us a quick overview of yours?
Ooh, yeah. So
Where to start?
quick over, yeah, where to start? Like I said before, I've been studying this stuff for a while. I'm trying to do it in the right aspect. And I really thank again all you guys for being here. Sorry, I just got these links out. I really meant to get them out last week, but with the stuff that was getting out on Monday, there was a slideshow from the town meeting day. The big one that I would draw attention to, and unfortunately it's not the Vermont document, it is the New Hampshire BMP document. If you guys only look at some of these links I shared, it's really focused on this New Hampshire BMP erosion control document, because it talks a lot more about geometry and topography, erosion, runoff, and the controls involved with it. So I think that it's going to be important, when we get to a point, if we're doing, I foresee us doing site walks, hopefully with the Conservation Commission, hopefully with neighbors, and we want to gain all these inputs as best we can. And we're fully prepared as when we get to the end of this, we may look at this and say, there are certain areas of town that may or may not fit with what we're trying to do. Just even in the beginnings of us trying to do this, we thought our path of least resistance to get to Barnard was going to be through East Barnard. And then, we knew we wanted to stay away from, a certain area of Royalton where we know there's all the horse riding camps. We didn't want to be over there. And then we didn't really, focus on trying to come through from the Gee Hill area until it became obvious that the Jim Good was going to allow us the opportunity to use his property from, Gee Hill to get us to Route 14. So that's what kind of changed our whole path, and then brought us to, okay, well then at that point, maybe it makes sense to have that short section of Route 14. And I know I'm getting into maps and stuff more, but I'm just saying, we've looked at things differently. It's an evolved process. I don't have my heels dug in the ground on any one piece anywhere. We're open to discussion. The plan is try to, highlight some of our, class fours. And I understand that becomes a sensitive, discussion because of what they are naturally. But I also believe that there's a lot of heritage to those class fours. I'm someone, like, I don't consider myself, like, I'm obviously not an old timer Vermonter, but I love riding old back roads and, seeing old foundation holes and trying to picture and imagine, like, wow, this, growing up on the Automera Road, I spent a ton of my time as a kid with my mountain bike or hiking or walking with my dog or whatever. And, you try to, take yourself and step back and see like, oh my gosh, 1750s Vermont. This is where this was his settlement of the old man Otto Merrill. And, to me, going out and doing, ATVing gets us out in some of those woods we don't see otherwise. It's an opportunity to teach the youth some, conservation, some ethics, some, it requires us to put work and effort into the land to be able to use the land. So I do agree with the land use issues, but I also agree that, or believe in that, we shouldn't just necessarily forget about all of these areas that are out in the backwoods or the class 4s or whatever. And also in light of, from what we kind of gathered from the select board or other town people is and what generally works in a lot of other towns. Maybe it's not for every class 4, is to try to get out in those more rural areas. And get out there. Those are areas also of like the roads don't have a lot of maintenance. And again, with trying to be with our decision to be a VASA club, is realizing that there is the opportunity for money to come from there. And I've had the discussion with the select board, and I know some of this might be jumping around. I didn't really write an agenda, but some towns have gotten spiels from clubs or VASA saying, oh, we're going to come in and we're going to help improve roads. In some towns that didn't work, like the town of Bakersfield. They don't care if you're VASA or not. They expect that every person that rides an ATV in the town of Bakersfield signs up a $10 access permit. And that's what so that the town directly also gets money. I couldn't tell you what they get, but they pretty much were miffed that after 4 or 5 years of VASA being present in Bakersfield and never getting a project, that had kicked money into their class 4s, they took it upon themselves to say, well, we're going to do something to get our own funds going. I feel like we have a good group that's involved. We've got some elder, some guys that can give us a lot of experience or know-how. We've got some young families that have kids that want to take advantage of knowing this, and we've got a number of guys that have either construction companies or a lot of good technical basis and background equipment at our disposal. So it's different things that I think that uniquely position us as a club to, hopefully deliver on the things that we're saying, that we're not just, trying to be slick or, talk a good game. I really believe like we could deliver on, what we say. It's not, I'm not just trying to throw all roses and ponies to everybody. It's we really want to be, do the work and have a place here with everybody. And we're being involved in the community. Like when I was with the recreation committee, I helped carry a bunch with Green Up Day. I've been talking to Walt Hastings. We're going to help with Green Up Day. There's different stuff in town where we want to be involved with, whether it's Old Homes Days or planning or whatever. We want to be a part of the community where that, people might look to us for, whether we want to do, hey, we've already talked about whether we want to do food drives, we want to have a breast cancer, awareness ride, try to raise money. There's a lot of stuff we really do have, I think some good initiatives, some good ideas, and just want to have a place in the town. I think there's a lot of people, and I still feel offended to one of the people, the pre-town meeting, information meeting, where the guy said like, I feel ATVs are a nuisance species and pretty much that we should all be eradicated. And I'm like, I get it. I hear you. I get it. And I'm sure that there's some people that have that opinion, and I don't blame them or feel fault at all. I know, like we went to I was looking at Tim. We went to a poker ride in Washington, Vermont, and I'll just use it as experience. And I bring this up to say that we've learned from these things where we went to a poker ride, but they had 5 different stops, but you had to go by the same main intersection to get to like each one of the stops. And this poor one guy that probably had a house somewhere near this intersection, there might've been 70 ATVs in the town of Washington that day, but they all potentially went, not only had to go to 3 different stops by his house, but out and backs. So he effectively felt the traffic of whatever, 360 vehicles in front of his house that day. And that's something we don't want. And we do want to be, sympathetic to that and, or mindful of that. And, so it's one of those catch-22 is like, well, we only want one corridor through town. Let's, not disrupt as many people as possible. Well, then when it's only one corridor and there's no separate loops, well, that means every vehicle that goes one way in has to go one way back out. And there's a lot of, again, then there's extra traffic counts on that one spot. It's, what do we do there? Anyways, we haven't necessarily done a traffic study other than to say that, we, in some of our busiest weekends, and Dave probably could speak to this more, is if we were in Stockbridge or Vershire, I think at most we might see in a busy opening weekend or a holiday weekend is maybe big numbers. Maybe there was 30 to 45, maybe 50. I would just say 50 because I'd rather be conservative, but maybe there was 50 other vehicles in the network. Because when you're out there, you're part of the community. You stop at maybe an intersection, you're having, we usually bring a grill where we're cooking lunch, or you see different people, different stops, drinking. Anyways, so I don't have a traffic study, but other than to say that is our traffic counts that I would anticipate in our network. If 50 would be a high number for a good weekend. I know that there probably is a potential. Maybe all of a sudden, if this thing gets put together and we have more vehicles, I mean, we need to figure out a way to scale it back or I would hate to do all this work and then just lose it. That's not, don't want to have like just my heels dug in like, well, we got it now and we're not losing it. We want to do this smart. So we don't just, have something really nice and pretty. Everybody wants to come here and then we lose it because we weren't ready for that size. All those things being said, there's a lot to this. I understand there's environmental aspects, political aspects, tranquility, noise, dust, speed,
Right.
damage, destruction, public property destruction, fatalities. I mean, they're real. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, no one's died, or I'm not going to try to sit and look up statistics. I mean, I don't want anybody to die on these trails either. I don't want to see anybody die on these roads in our town, or that's not our interest. We want to be able to, just enjoy these roads, figure out a way that we can have, community get-togethers, or maybe do a community ride, or, anyways, just get back to that kind of stuff. Yeah, Peter.
Oh, yeah, Peter.
I've got a question. You mentioned the numbers, the 50 count. Just out of curiosity, how many people in Royalton would you estimate have ATVs at this moment?
More than you would think.
A lot more than you think for one.
No,
but for
give me a
two,
ballpark number, please.
well, we've got what, 2,500 residents?
2750, yeah. Are there 300
Well, hold on.
ATVs?
I'm trying to remember the math. I think there's 16,000, 17,000 registered vehicles in the state. So let's do it mathematically. What is there, 650,000 people in Vermont?
No, let's scale it back down. 2,700, that would mean 275 people in Royalton owned ATVs. Is that true? 10% of them?
No, hold on. Let's come up with a real number. Hold on.
Yeah.
So if you've got, let's just say you've got 650,000 people in the state, and if we have 2,750 people in Royalton, out of 650,000, that's 0.4% of the state lives in Royalton. So if there's 17,000 registered ATVs in the state, you've got 68 ATVs figuratively in Royalton.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. That's it. That's very helpful. And then, so that would mean, what would that imply for the number of people from out of town who would be riding?
Hold on, I'm sorry.
on a given
That-
Saturday?
The way that you came up with that number was imagining that the landscape is exactly the same, that anybody that lives in Burlington is as likely to have an ATV as somebody that lives here, which of course doesn't make sense.
Fair enough.
So I mean, we can't, I think there,
Well, we're speculating.
I mean, I'm
Some
sorry.
of our biggest clubs are up north.
I'm just.
What I'm trying to,
That number was registered ATVs, which, how many people in town have them registered right now.
Not many.
Not many
Right.
at all.
And how
So-
many would you anticipate would go out and
Registered.
buy ATVs if the club were up and running and all that?
That's all
It's
speculation,
all
Peter.
speculation. I
That's all
haven't prepared, I
speculation.
am not prepared to answer that question.
Right, we can't
Okay,
talk
well,
speculation.
I'm just, what I'm acutely aware of is that it's a very small percentage of the population.
Fair
That's
enough.
all, just mathematically.
Fair enough.
Okay,
I'm
let's,
trying to think,
oh,
we
yeah.
have 200, I'm in the Stockbridge Club,
Mhm.
which we have Royalton, Tunbridge, we have all these surrounding towns. But we have about 230 members last year.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
they come
And then
from.
Ian,
this-
how many do you guys have?
I don't have our current count yet. We just barely got,
Yeah.
we just barely got online to register our members.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all.
That would be really good information to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's a question, Ian. How many times do you ride every weekend? Like, is there 30 or 40 ATVs going out every weekend?
Gosh, no.
Okay, so we're making an assumption that every weekend, which is probably gonna be the busiest time of riding, that everybody's gonna be out on the road. I've got an ATV. I've owned one since 2004. I might hop on it 4 times a year and go up the Atamira on a beautiful day. So to make an assumption that 50 or 70 people are gonna be riding ATVs every weekend, I think is unrealistic at this point. You know, based off from the number of people in town. I mean, it's like, does somebody go fishing every Sunday, Saturday? I don't know.
Well, it's the out of town people I'm more interested in this case.
Yeah.
If your plans really went well and everything was great, how many people would you expect who didn't live in town would be using it?
I think that what
who knows?
happens, I can tell you what happens over in Stockbridge is most of the out-of-state people that we have in the club that come and ride, they either have land or they know someone
Right.
that is they're friendly with that has land, and they come up and ride once in a while on the weekends. Once in a while, not a lot, but they still join our club because you have to belong to the club to use it. But we don't get, you just, I mean, it's a hard thing to just take your ATV and go somewhere and start riding when you don't know the country, you don't know the trails, you don't know anything about anything, really.
Can't do it.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to do. And some of these trails, some of these really back in the hills trails are challenging, some of them are. So,
For what it's
Okay.
worth, may
Yes,
I?
yes. of
For what
course.
it's worth, I've been a member with the VASA for 12 years. Dave, I'm sorry to say, I've been on your trails twice.
have you, yeah, that's right.
I ride
Yeah.
Island Pond,
Yeah,
I ride up north, we got
Yeah.
a place in Island Pond.
Yep.
Never do I ride around here.
no,
So why? I just don't.
Yeah.
I enjoy the trails up there. And if you want to see what it's really all about,
oh, yeah.
you can look at Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, where they have thousands of people.
Yeah.
And what Peter's speculating on a weekend, it's unreal. But they thrive on having them up there. They
Yeah.
really do. They've got lots of motels, or shall I say cabins and whatnot. They've got a lot of restaurants and everything. They look forward to them coming. We don't have that here.
Right.
Right now, you got, Ian is trying to get together to have it at the crossroads. And what I'm seeing right now, we're trying to defend when we shouldn't have to. We've already, when the select board went and suggested what is the interest in having these ATVs, that's all they were looking for. Everybody says, oh, the ATV club won. They didn't win. What they did was show an interest. And this is where our ordinance is coming now. There is interest in town, whether you're for it or against it. There was a whole lot of interest, whether you were or weren't. So I think our job is, what I'm hearing right now is a whole lot of defense. We shouldn't have to.
Right.
We're here to make an ordinance. Move on from there. And who's to say whether the selectmen's gonna agree with what we come up with
Right.
anyway?
Exactly right.
We, as Gidget said, it's a draft.
That's right.
So
Right.
all this stuff about throwing everything out there, we need this one, granted, Conservation Committee, Planning Commission, the police, everybody, yeah, 100%. But I'm not thinking that we need to start throwing everything out there now.
No, no, I agree.
As far
I
as
mean,
numbers and whatnot, sorry, Peter, but it's too early to tell. Because right now, the only thing that this club has got together is a passage through. And very limited, very limited.
Yeah.
We do not have a point A and a point B yet.
Right.
Right.
Because we don't know what we together are going to agree on roads.
Right.
So you really can't have a point A and point B yet. Yes, the goal is to be able to connect over onto like Taylor Valley, is connect over to Barney, but we're not there
but
yet.
that's not in place yet, yeah.
So that's what I'm at.
But I do think you make a really good point, is that our task is to have the ordinance with it. There was already the discussion and everything that happened for the vote at town meeting day. So I think there's that. But coming up with the ordinance is the key, yes, Brett.
So I don't know, Ian and I talked about this last time, and I don't know if this is possible, but if it is something that we want to consider, I think that doing it as quickly as possible would be helpful. And that's Williamstown did a mailer, a survey. Whether we do a mailed survey or somehow do outreach, I think that we could maybe then get a little more information about prospective numbers that aren't just speculation. If part of the survey was, do you own an ATV? If an ordinance, is enacted,
Would you use
would
it?
you think about getting an ATV? Would you be using it on these trails?
Yeah.
If, I just think that, and again, I don't know if the logistics of it would work. Maybe reaching out to Williamstown to see what sort of response they got as far as a percentage, because if they sent one to every house in town and they got 10% of them back, then
Well, that's
not
the
really.
thing, right? It's like trying to get people out to vote.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So what are we looking for, just to know who might be writing them? I mean, what's our goal for the information for us to write this ordinance?
I think that numbers beyond just speculation would be helpful.
I also think there's a perception, and I'll be honest, I share that there wasn't really a lot of advance notice for those who weren't in the planning process within and others for the ATV trails. That it feels a little bit like it was sprung on voters. And so I think the goal in the end for us, yes, is an ordinance, but I think it should be an ordinance and a process that we deliver that shows like a real deliberate interest in an ordinance and planning for whatever happens next. And I totally appreciate this, that there's a lot of speculation here, but we don't want to give them an ordinance that the select board adopts and then is almost immediately overturned, or their vote was called because 5% of the voters have signed this petition. Like, and that's, to me, that seems all the more reason to get as much input as we can so that people feel like they were heard and this was, that they share in, whatever is adopted instead of that. I think that's where I think a lot of the defense is.
Complete transparency, getting the information out there. But the problem is, even like you said, mailings is how do you do that?
Yeah, that I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was just an example,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's what Williamstown
Right.
did.
We
And
could
again, I
always
don't
put
know.
a link on the website and in our minutes that go around, say, if you want to participate in this survey, go to the town website and there's a link.
Yeah, I think
It would
it's
save us on
multiple.
postage. And then if people want to be involved, they're involved. I think you're gonna find you're gonna get a really small percentage that do want to be involved, no matter what side they are on.
I mean, if it's in the paper, I guess somehow.
We could have it
Yeah.
added to the select
Yeah.
board minutes
Yeah.
that, have them bring it up that it's on the website, the link.
Yeah, so maybe we just come up with a list of questions.
Yeah, why don't you do
would
that?
That the
Yeah.
answers would help us
yeah,
as we're doing this, just so
Right.
there's not speculation, and it's not like,
Yeah.
And at least we can say, we did some outreach and asked some questions, and maybe by our next meeting, we can all think about some questions that we think would be relevant that we could bring to the table. And then, yeah, whether it's an online survey that we, via Facebook, the town website, whatever, let people know.
So who wants to create that? We've got like 7 minutes.
I can,
You want to work on
I can work
that?
on that because,
Okay. And then we'll
my-
figure out how to get it out, like on Boylston Speaks and all that, and Front Porch Forum.
Might
or-
Yeah, I
have to have the
think whatever
radio
you can get it out.
Yeah. But
The
I just,
listserv.
Yeah.
Facebook.
we'll figure that.
Facebook.
But I agree with Pamela, like, our goal is not to do that just for a petition to come out and have it be overturned. We want to be able to defend that we did everything we could to
Yeah.
get input. The voters voted for us to create an ordinance. That was our task that we went to do, and we were trying to be as inclusive as we could,
Yep.
right? We do
But I
not want it to be.
Do also
overturned.
think our committee has a lot of different views too that we're
Yeah.
bringing to the table.
Yeah,
We're not, I don't think we all have the same idea of where this should go. So,
Right.
yeah.
Which I think is good, that-
That's,
so
yeah,
everyone has
valuable.
Right.
some other
The
input.
thing Ian, I like that Newport did, which I think we should really consider, is they didn't adopt this big ordinance.
well, that's good. That
The-
leads
the-
us
the
into our
mayor-
last agenda item. Let's kind of figure
So
out
the
our model.
The mayor, from what I recall reading it the other day, is Newport selected a certain area that they opened it up to ATVs. They ran it for a year, whatever. They got feedback. They talked to law enforcement. They looked at traffic issues. And then they slowly start to expand it
Oh, I think that's
based
great.
off. So as we look at this ordinance, I don't think we have to look at every road or whatever you're looking at as being open. Let's concentrate on an area that is manageable, can be monitored, can be evaluated, and then if it works, it gets expanded.
I think that's a
We don't have to open this up in 1 year, and all of a sudden the whole town of South Royalton is opened up to ATVs, because I don't agree with that either. I don't think every road in this town should be open to ATVs.
I think we should limit how much road, town
Right,
roads.
but
we
start
are.
small, and there's nothing to say it can't be expanded over time.
I like
Uh,
that.
I
it's
really like that
manageable.
idea, actually, too.
Two parts. One, absolutely agree that, and the other thing is with whatever we end up coming up with, and we've discussed this even with like some of the private trails, like there's some properties that we know that have a bunch of different trails, but we know if we advertise certain parts of this to VASA or give VASA the option to ride it, there's certain parts of some of these trails we would we'd not want published on the trail maps. These might be just, pretty much just put up no ATV use. Because if we want, we need to control the amount of exposure there is for
Right,
potential out of town riders to be on. We do want to have that either just there's a corridor through, or maybe there's just this site, coming and going together as a parts. That was part one. Part two is what they did in Newport is once I think things were good for the year or two, a lot of the question was, well, okay, there's a trailhead parking here. I'm a resident that lives here. I want to ride to, whatever the shortest
Right.
point to get to the road was that they may want to join, like say someone lives on Ducker Road and they want to ride, Macintosh. Well, there's some, written language in that, you pretty much could, whatever the shortest distance, please, be respectful of it, but you
right.
could ride your ATV from your home to get to the trail network, not necessarily have to trailer to whatever the designated trailhead
Right.
spot was.
It
So
took
can
me,
you,
it
yeah,
took me 3 years to get from my camp to be able to go into town.
wow,
Right.
And I could see, my street wasn't open,
right,
but I could see them going by.
yeah.
So, and that's what I would propose that we do.
So can we
here.
look at that? How do people feel about that? I think that's a splendid idea to start off that way.
And Newport has parts of 105, and they have parts of state highways that they
Right.
share. So they should have some language, and that's a great point, is to get their ordinance, because maybe they have some stuff that we didn't necessarily see
Yeah,
in
I think-
William.
I
So
think
what
if
are
you
we
come-
talking about are we talking about starting small, or are we talking about what Newport did as far as allowing?
Starting very small.
Starting very
Right.
small
So
and to
opening
seeing
up
what
a
their
certain
language is.
section And run
and
it
see
for
how
a year,
people,
see how people react. Were there a lot of complaints?
did
There
they
were no
abide by the
complaints.
rules?
There was a lot of damage, there was no damage. What was the impact on, on migration or whatever? And then if everything goes well, then you open up another section.
Mm.
And then if there's issues in that section,
you shut it down.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
totally agree with starting
you know.
small. I just got confused if that's what we were discussing, or if we were discussing the access to the nearest trail from your house.
That wouldn't be, no, that's not on the
No,
table.
no.
That's,
No,
that's,
that's
no,
not-
I'm just saying that's what Newport did.
Yeah.
And it's important to know that, understand that that's what, because it's a question that comes up all the time. Well, I live in town. Why can't I just ride to my stuff? You mean I got to trailer my rig to the trailhead? Yes,
you do.
yes, you do.
Funny to be in Newport and see, I've never seen an ATV in Newport, but I see all kinds of side by side UTVs.
Mm.
Right.
You know, I see UTVs going up and down the street all the time, but they're just like a car, they just fit right in and, but
So
I've
shall
never
we-
seen just a one-seat ATV on.
So shall we start with that model? And who wants to get that for us? Can you get that?
I
Ian?
can,
Okay.
absolutely. And then just sorry to wrap back up with, when one of the last versions of the map that I'd shared in the email. We did try to break it back into area of interest 1, which was from the trailhead to Barnard. Area of interest 2 might have been from trailhead to Tunbridge. We haven't made any progress with Tunbridge, so that isn't really a focus for us now, but we would still like to obviously, talk about stuff along that route. And then area of interest 3 we had on the map was, from the trailhead to loop Automera Road, Oxbow Road down to the backside of the village, just to give that. So I think as the club, whether we come up with something that, obviously that's what we put out is this, like, that's our long-term big picture, how we'd like to get through town. If in the trial sense, if we just got, part 1, that might be a focus. So that maybe we aren't spending a bunch of time looking at a bunch of different stuff in town.
Right.
And we're open to, or, again, maybe if part 3 is added on because it is an in-loop town that provides some other connections to town businesses, then it shows that, we're trying to establish that. That would be, so the way I numbered it isn't necessarily in order of importance, other than that, yes, area 1 would be the primary focus. Area 2, I think, is the Tunbridge leg, which doesn't become as much of a focus because we don't have a clear path, as much of a clear path to connect to Tunbridge. And then area 3 probably would be the secondary in order of, crucial to, getting established, I guess. But anyways, I just wanted to, say that before we left, just saying that, we are willing to look at, those areas
Breaking
separately, or
them
just,
up in that way.
or just one, let's just, if the committee says, hey, we don't want to go too, in the interest of not going too big, maybe we do just focus on one or the other. I would say, as we're getting ready to close, if you guys could just look at that map next time, maybe
Okay.
that could be something.
No real club, no real rider wants to ride the dirt roads.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
Right.
I'd rather be in the woods.
We would-
Seriously.
And I
That's
know a
it.
lot of houses, people that own homes I don't want,
Right.
I'm for I'm for this, but I don't want ATVs running back and forth in front of my house all day.
Not the amount
It
of
used to
dust you got.
happen. Huh?
Not the amount of dust you got.
No, well, I am up off the road, but,
No, you got plenty of mud now.
yeah, I know, because they
So with that
graded.
in mind, is Stillbrook still on your number 1 list?
It's up for discussion. I mean, that's well, it's potentially within the area.
Last house for the second.
And I'm not trying to be ambiguous. It's something that I think is up for discussion, in the sense of, yes, it's in that general corridor. And it's more of a, whether we sit down and look at it, and
No,
we have
that's
opportunities
okay.
maybe to get onto McCullough land, but I don't know how it may or may not work. We've been
Yeah.
already talking about, like, how do we get through the
Let's not
woods?
have two people talk at the same time.
Okay, you're on the left.
We're next to
I'm trying to figure out where they are and so,
So,
okay,
yeah.
so
Smith's
we'll look
driveway
at your,
Is actually part of class 4 road.
so we'll look at your map.
Just maybe as an agenda item next week, because
Alright,
we
so-
just take a closer look at the map.
Okay,
So you're gonna bring that or? send
I'll bring copies of it, and it was in
Yeah, that
that,
would be
it was in that email
Okay.
from
that would be
Monday
good to
night.
have. so we
Okay.
can
I'll
look-
look for that,
Yes,
too.
that one.
And look and
Okay.
see, yes, perfect, right.
That's the
I
map.
may have
that's
seen it and
proposed.
just.
And then we
okay.
can look at the areas. of
It's
which
on the
area- I
email
love
you
your
got,
idea, I love
Dave.
it.
It's on that, my email from
It's a
Monday
great way
night.
to start and
It's one
make
of the
it work.
attachments.
It's
Yeah.
too controversial.
Yeah. This way you could
Before the next
show.
meeting, you can print that
And
out.
I'll print it and bring it
The other
in
thing is
large
that-
And then
format.
maybe we should
also
we'll also
Puts the earnest
print off
on
a
the
blank
ATV
copy
To
that's
do.
not marked up
to
yet.
prove that they're gonna take, they're gonna be a responsible organization. That's, we're not just gonna open up the
Right.
town to ATV.
Exactly.
Agreed.
All right, so does
Yeah.
everybody feel like they know what their tasks are for us for the next meeting?
Mhm.
And trying to get our setup for the people coming in and what we need to bring? Anybody have any other questions or concerns? Peter, anything from you? All right,
I
then.
have,
Oh, yes,
just
go ahead,
one
Brad.
quick question
Go ahead.
about, this is a general public meeting. I think I understand this correctly. As far as like conversations outside of a committee meeting. Just for example, if Ian and I had a discussion about this.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a quorum. as long
That's
as it's
right.
not-
It's always as long as it's not a quorum. So
Okay.
if 6 of you had a meeting and you all decided what you were gonna do and the 4 of us didn't know about it, that would be an issue, right? But
Yeah.
you can absolutely, like, that's why we like the 5-member select board, because you can talk to one other person to have discussions,
Gotcha.
but you can't have 3 people be
I just
there.
wanted to,
Yeah.
that's the way I understood it. I just
That's
wanted to
exactly
clarify,
right.
just
That's
because, I mean,
exactly
there may
right.
be discussions where, you know, it's, while we're both on the committee and it is sort of committee business, it's a property owner and a leader of the ATV.
Yeah, right,
That are having a
right.
discussion about
Exactly
a
right.
particular item.
No,
And I
you,
just wanted to make sure that that
you
was okay.
absolutely can do that.
We didn't have to videotape.
Right.
ourselves.
That's right. No, you do not.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. All right, anything else? Otherwise, I'll confirm where we're gonna meet and let you know. I think it is next Wednesday. So I'll try to see if we're still gonna meet here or we'll look at the law school.
Thanks for a good
Motion.
start.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you too,
Is
Peter. Thank
Somebody
you.
gonna put out a public notice so people are aware that they can attend this meeting?
Yeah, Victoria was
Is
doing
Victoria
that
gonna
for
put
me.
that
Yeah,
up?
she does
Okay.
that for me. She sent it out to where the same sites and everything that she does for select board meetings.
Okay, good. Let's just make the select board aware that we're being as transparent as we
Yes,
possibly can.
yes.
because-
And we will do
they
that, I
made it
think,
very
when we go to the meeting and present our draft to them, right? And everybody will say that. Okay.
Okay.
Feel pretty good.
All right, me too,
Thank you,
me
guys. Thank
too.
you.
Good job, everybody. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And recording.
It was.